National Geographic's Best of the World, 1,000 Destinations of a Lifetime is a beautiful and fascinating book for armchair travelers and those planning their next adventure. Ahead, we'll get some travel advice and take a look at some of the great photos in the book. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and this is Some Books Considered. I requested and was provided with a copy of the book, but this video is not sponsored. Allyson Johnson is a senior editor for National Geographic Books, where she publishes travel, photography, cookbooks, and illustrated reference titles. She joins us to talk about National Geographic's Best of the World, 1,000 Destinations of a Lifetime. Allyson, welcome to Some Books Considered.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I understand this book grew out of the annual Best of the World list that National Geographic started back in 2012. Tell us about that list and how it led to this book.
Yeah, so National Geographic Traveler magazine, which no longer exists, unfortunately, but starting in 2012, they would do a yearly Best of the World issue. And this was a list of destinations that for the forthcoming year seemed like the best places to travel in the upcoming year, as well as subsequent destinations that were just always best of bucket list worthy destinations. After the magazine folded, we continued Best of the World at National Geographic digitally. So since 2012, we've been publishing this curated list, either in print or online, and it's truly trips of a lifetime that National Geographic has named destinations of a lifetime through the lens of whether it's sustainability, cultural heritage, history, adventure, or just worthwhile places to go through a National Geographic lens. And to make Best of the World the book, we went back through 10 years of Best of the World content. We re-fact checked all of the places that we had featured. We've vetted all of the places again through our global network of National Geographic travel writers, explorers, and photographers to make sure they still lived up to that Best of the World standard. And then we curated it all in this beautiful volume that features 1,000 destinations divided into how you travel and across the entire globe.
So will this book be the definitive list, or will we continue to see a Best of the World annual list from National Geographic in the future?
We will continue to see the list annually. So I believe this year's will come out in January or late December. So this is really the 10-year anniversary book, and then it will continue for years to come. And hopefully there will be a volume 2 one day.
Now, this edition of the book is packed with information, but I imagine it was still a big challenge to narrow it down to just 1,000 destinations.
It really was tricky. And, there were places that we had to sit there and say this one or this one. And what we really wanted to do was make sure there was a diversity of destinations and a diversity of experiences. So that did help whittle it down to 1,000. But we try to get it all in there, and there's still so much of the world that isn't included. But this is a good starting point for sure.
And as usual with the National Geographic book, it's filled with wonderful photographs of those locations.
It is. And I think when you grab the book and you start flipping through that, those photographs take you to the place so you can travel from your armchair. Or, for me, as I'm flipping through, I'm like, okay, I have to see that for myself in real life. And you're immediately jotting down your own bucket list. Like, I need to get there. I need to get there because it's so breathtaking to see what these places look like.
And I think it's also fun because there were places in there that I've had the privilege to visit. So it was a nice reminder of that time in my life as well.
Yes. And, I had the same experience. There are a number of places I've actually visited, and I felt almost proud, like I've been to a Best of the World destination as I'm going through it. But it takes you back to that trip, to those memories. And then as you're reading, you're seeing, oh, I like this place. Well, this kind of has the same vibe. Maybe I'll go there because I love that trip so much. So it's a really good way to kind of curate both where you want to go and remember where you've been.
Well, Allyson, tell us more about how this book is organized.
Yeah, so we divided it by type of traveler in a regard. So there's a chapter for nature lovers called Wonders of Nature, and these are all your biodiverse environments with a lot of wildlife, a lot of hiking, scenic things that you will see in nature. We have 2 chapters that really focus on people and history. So there's a chapter on cultural heritage, and these are places you can go to have really cultural experiences where you're going to try ceremonial traditions, you're going to immerse yourself in a place, and then dynamic cities, which is a great chapter for urban dwellers and people who really like going and seeing skyscrapers and museums and foodie tours. There's a chapter on family-friendly adventures. So this is for those travelers like myself who have kids at home. They still want to travel, but are looking for ones that are easier to do with young kids or older kids, whatever you have. And then the last chapter is for adrenaline junkies. So these are more of your skiing, hang gliding, zip lining, surfing, all of those are packed into this adrenaline chapter for those really kind of extreme sports that you might want to do. Not always extreme, but sports that you want to do on a trip.
You know, another thing I appreciate about the book was the top 10 list that can help you put together a trip. For example, there's information about where to go if you want to look at significant locations in African American history. And as a native Kansan, I appreciated the list of best college campuses to visit, and they included the University of Kansas in Lawrence, where you can see the original rules of basketball on display.
Yeah, it is. And those top 10 lists were really fun because you can see the diversity of locations that are within, like, for those very specific niche travel types that you want. So the college campuses was really fun. The hotels, you can see like right next to Canada, there's a spot in Portugal. So you're going around the world within these top 10 lists. We even have a list for the best places to travel with your dog. So if you are a pet owner, you can travel with your pet. And so those were really fun to get to put together. And also, like you said, we have road trips in there, which is a really great way if you're a road trip traveler, both domestically or abroad. We have, I think, 10 road trips throughout the book that you can take where you can see a lot in one. One of my favorites is in Colorado. It's a hot springs loop that you go to 5 different hot springs around Colorado. And it's just a really curated guide to travel the way you want to travel and seek out really specialty things that really hit home for you as a traveler.
Well, there are 1,000 adventures in this book, so we can only scratch the surface. But tell us about some of your favorites from the book.
Yeah. So one of my favorites, and I actually just got to do this summer myself, inspired by this book, was a safari in Tanzania. And so in Tanzania, there are a lot of different safaris you can have. Mine was in Serengeti National Park, but Tanzania is a great place to go in North American summer, but their winter, because that's when the Great Migration happens. So millions of animals start migrating through the Serengeti. You see these beautiful herds. We got to see the big 5. So we saw lions, cheetahs, leopards, rhinos, Cape buffalo, elephants. We saw it all. And it was just truly a magical experience to see wildlife in their homes and to really experience that for myself. Another favorite that I have that's in this book that I was so happy we were able to include is Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is my recommendation for anyone who hasn't traveled internationally before from the United States. Is a great first international trip. It's just a beautiful place to visit in terms of biodiversity. It's great for adrenaline junkies because there's zip lining, there's ATVing, but it's also, you could go and sit on a beach and enjoy the day and the fresh fruit. And it really has something for everyone in Costa Rica. So it's a great spot. If you haven't been out of the country, it's a great spot to try going internationally for the first time.
Allyson, as you've pointed out, there are many different adventures in this book. So if you want a challenging adventure or want to participate in a sport, you can do that. But if you have a family or you're older and can't handle some of the more physical activities, the book will also point you in the right directions for adventures that would be a better fit for you.
Yeah, we have a ton of family friendly. And like you said, it's for a wide range. You know, I come through it as a lens. I have a 2 and a 5-year-old at home. So there are a lot of family adventures that are just either a national park in the US or great international destinations where you can just kind of walk around and it's an easy, lower expectation trip. One of my favorites, which is coming up, Austria is a great family trip around Christmas time because they have their Christmas markets and there's a lot of holiday cheer, and the kids will love the lights and the decoration and the hot chocolate and everything that you can do there. But there's a lot of stuff in that chapter for seniors as well, that it's easy walking or driving trips. And so I love that this book is not just best of the world in general, but for everyone. There really is, no matter what type of traveler you are, there is something you can hang on to.
And I will second that because that's one of the places I have been to. The Christmas markets in Vienna are a magical experience, so I'd encourage people to do it if they can.
Yeah, it's like going into a snow globe. It's so perfect.
The book is Best of the World, 1,000 Destinations of a Lifetime. Well, let's talk a little bit about preparing for a trip of a lifetime. What travel advice would you give people today? Because travel has changed a lot over the last few years.
It definitely has changed. And, I think a lot of what happens when we travel these days, there's so much information out there. Thanks to the internet, we can see everything and anything to do in a place. And so using Best of the World is your starter. So that's where you go for that bucket list experience. This is aspirational and inspirational. It doesn't have your itinerary of what to do day by day, but it's rather a place you can travel from your armchair or open it up and say, hey, I want to go there. And once you've picked that destination, you can get really overwhelmed by the information out there in the travel guides and on the internet. And you're going to be tempted to want to see and do everything while you're there. And I hate to say it, it's just not possible when you only have a week or even less in a place to get everything in. So my best advice is come up with a singular or maybe two goals for the trip. Why are you going to this place? Is it to experience wildlife? Is it to eat the best food in the world? Is it to see the museums or the monuments in this place? Focus your trip into why you are going to that place and then make your itinerary around those things so you can at least see the top 3 to 4 things you wanted to go to that destination for. And then if you have time, you can add in the other stuff, but don't try to cram it all into one trip because it's going to overwhelm you. It's going to make the trip stressful. And then you're going to get there and all you're going to be thinking about is getting to the next part of the trip rather than enjoying the moment that you are in. And these are trips of a lifetime because you have to immerse yourself in these experiences and not just rush off to make sure you're checking a box off your to-do list while you're there.
Well, to learn more, the book is Best of the World, 1,000 Destinations of a Lifetime. It's a great way to travel the world from the comfort of your home or to maybe add some items to your bucket list. It's edited by Allyson Johnson. She's a senior editor for National Geographic Books. Allyson, thank you very much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you'd like to purchase Best of the World, 1,000 Destinations of a Lifetime from National Geographic, I've placed a link for you in the description below. And if you'd like to see more videos about books and their authors on a wide variety of topics, be sure to like, subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified about future programs. I'm Dan Skinner. Thank you for watching this edition of Some Books Considered.